Welcome to our special meeting. I am Dr. Bruce Scott, the Speaker of the American Medical Association's House of Delegates.
And I am Lisa Egbert, Vice Speaker of the House of Delegates.
As much as I wish we were meeting in person, it is still an honor for me to call to order the second special meeting of 2020. This, the 243rd meeting of our American Medical Association's House of Delegates. This meeting represents a number of firsts. Our first Friday opening session, and on Friday the 13th, no less. That should bring us luck. More importantly, this is our first leap into robust policy discussion in a virtual format. While technology for virtual meetings continues to evolve, it still does not equate to an in-person meeting. Dr. Egbert and I have witnessed many virtual meetings over the last several months, and we can tell you that they are often fraught with connectivity challenges, uniformly less efficient, and absolutely less fun. So with that, here we go. We may need some of that luck, hopefully the good kind. This has been a very difficult year for all of us with social justice unrest, political divisions within our country, and of course, the pandemic. Our nation has lost more than 240,000 individuals to COVID-19. We've lost mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. Nothing can ease the immeasurable loss. Let's pause for a moment to honor their memory. Over the years, we have sought at these meetings to develop policy that would advance the art and science of medicine and the betterment of public health. This is part of who we are as physicians. Our ethics put our patients' interests ahead of our own. I have never been more proud to be a physician and to be associated with my fellow physicians and all the members of the healthcare team, all of us working selflessly to provide care both due to and despite this pandemic. As physicians, we have witnessed the deaths of far too many of our colleagues. Let's take a moment to remember the physicians and other healthcare workers who have fallen during the course of their life's work of helping others. We dedicate this meeting to our colleagues who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the fight against COVID-19. Recognizing our human frailties, we begin our meeting, as always, with an invocation. This evening, our invocation will be led by Reverend Kimberly Jackson from Atlanta, Georgia. Reverend Jackson was recommended by our immediate past president, Dr. Patrice Harris, also of Atlanta. Dr. Jackson is an Episcopal priest in the Diocese of Atlanta at the Church of the Common Ground in downtown Atlanta, a church that strives to build community and care for the spiritual needs of the homeless. Reverend Jackson.
At this point, undoubtedly you've grown accustomed to gathering in this way, not in a big room where you can greet and hug your colleagues, but instead virtually, physically distanced from your friends, many of whom you only see once a year at conferences such as these. And because of the pandemic, because of the nature of your jobs, many of you have lost colleagues, people with whom you just shared a drink with last year at the end of a conference session. So in the midst of the strangeness and the weightiness of this time, and during a season in which all eyes are on medical professionals, let us turn our hearts and our minds towards the one who is greater than us all. Let us pray. Dear one whom we call by many names, we come to you with hearts full of grief for loved ones lost, colleagues missed, and grief for a world fraught with illness and division. We come with hearts full of thanksgiving as well, thanksgiving for the gift of technology that brings us together, for advances in medical science that helps bring healing to the world, and thanksgiving for our friends and loved ones who support us on our journeys. We ask that you would also fill our hearts with hope. Give us hope for new cures, hope for peace, hope for renewed joy. Finally, I ask that you would bless this special meeting of the AMA. Please allow this meeting to further AMA's calls to help bring health equity to each of us all. I pray this in the name of all that is love. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Jackson. As Reverend Jackson noted, these are unusual times. This meeting sees us situated in our homes and our offices. We are physically separated, but our calling as physicians, as healers, brings us together. It's time for our country to come together as well. With that in mind, Dr. Egbert and I have selected a presentation that features singers from each of our diverse and great United States. Here is the national anthem of our United States of America.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Through the skies and bright stars, through the perilous night, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still
Thank you. Typically, we would now recognize the chair of the Committee on Rules and Credentials for a quorum and rules report. But given the circumstances of this meeting, we will postpone those reports until tomorrow morning. Please note, however, that the rules report, including the committee's recommendations on late resolutions, will be posted online as soon as possible after the 9 p.m. deadline this evening. For your information, the Sunday tote, for this meeting, the Saturday tote, which contains resolutions received since the addendum, along with the resolutions from the sections and then additional information of interest, is also available online now. The final report of the Resolutions Committee, including the items that have been extracted, will also be posted online after the 9 p.m. deadline this evening. As a reminder, that deadline for extractions for the report is 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. Those extractions should be sent to this address, hod@ama-assn.org. Similarly, also the email address should be used for any extractions of informational reports to be referred to Reference Committee. To repeat one more time, those extractions must be sent to hod@ama-assn.org by 9 o'clock this evening. The fact that you can see me and presumably hear me strongly suggests that you have been able to log in to Zoom. For tonight's meeting, that's all you need. But starting tomorrow, to fully participate, you will need to be logged in to both Zoom and Lumi. More about that later. But right now, I want to tell you that anyone who needs technical assistance at this point may email us at hodmeetingsupport@ama-assn.org. Please include a callback number so that we can respond by email or phone. For urgent issues during the meeting, there is a hotline available at 800-337-1599. Please note that the instruction sheet is posted on the AMA website on the Business of the November 2020 Special Meeting page, along with the handbook and other important material. That same instruction sheet was emailed to all of you on November the 9th. With that, let's proceed with the business before us this evening. As you can see from the listing that is being posted, we will hear from our president, our CEO, our alliance, PAC, and foundation. After we hear from our leadership, I will be providing further information regarding our sessions these several next days, so stay tuned. After that, we will proceed with our awards ceremony. It is now my distinct pleasure to recognize the President of the American Medical Association, Dr. Susan Rudd Bailey. Dr. Bailey comes to us tonight from Fort Worth, Texas. Dr. Bailey.
Mr. Speaker, officers, delegates, physician and student colleagues, distinguished guests, family, and friends. In my inaugural address in June, I talked about how a hero's journey is symbolic of the journey we walk as physicians. Our journey starts with a moment of inspiration to pursue medicine. We find a mentor to show us the way. We encounter struggles and hardships before emerging stronger and more resilient, forever changed by the experience. Few times in history have we embodied the hero's journey like we have in this past year. In June, I talked about Harry Potter, Star Wars, and the Wizard of Oz, but much of the last few months have felt more like the dystopian world of the Hunger Games. COVID-19 has brought immense challenges and pain for so many, including our physician community. We have struggled mightily at times. Some of us know a colleague who lost their life to COVID-19. Many of us have fallen ill, or we've watched a family member or loved one battle the virus. We have done things in 2020 that we could not have imagined, shining a spotlight in an uncomfortable place on ourselves, as we repeatedly cried out for more protective equipment to keep us and our patients safe, for the financial aid to keep our struggling practices afloat, for the information and resources to make sense of it all, to provide counsel for our patients, to better understand what we were up against. As we approach the end of 2020, the pandemic feels a little different now. We don't know if it's the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end, but we are a bit wiser and a bit tougher than before. We don't know everything about the journey ahead, but there is plenty we do know. This year has shown us the best in physicians and our healthcare community, the nurses, assistants, and staff personnel who are always by our side, who are in the trenches with us even in the most difficult of times, and that understand the importance of physician-led teams. But this year also has revealed how politics can be corrosive, how misinformation and anti-science rhetoric can impede our ability to respond in a health emergency and can magnify the cracks and inequities in our health system. 9 months into our fight against COVID-19, the pandemic is as dangerous as ever. We have reached record highs, a milestone of more than 100,000 new cases every day. Surges continue across the country. More than 10 million of our fellow citizens have become infected. Nearly 250,000 have died. We have learned in this most difficult year that no person and no community is safe from this virus. It reaches everyone, no matter their background, their income, or their politics. And yet, in face of this pandemic, perhaps the greatest threat to public health in our lifetimes, physicians have heroically answered the call, time and again, through surges and plateaus, working under intense pressure and at great personal risk. Our physician community has risen to the challenge of this moment. We have done this with courage and with selflessness, because of our singular dedication to our patients' health. And now, with a new year ahead and possible vaccines on the horizon, we are about to make a fresh start. Change is in the air. Never again can we allow the politics of division to undermine our ability to deliver the very best care to our patients. Never again can we allow anti-science bias and rhetoric to undermine our public health institutions and discredit the work of physicians, scientists, and researchers. Never again can we allow a campaign of misinformation and disinformation to co-opt conversations around public health and sow divisions that only serve to prolong the suffering of so many. Never again can we allow public health officials to feel the pressure of threats and intimidation simply for doing their jobs. And especially when lives are at stake, never again should physicians have to fight a war on two fronts, caring for severely ill patients in a raging pandemic, while at the same time battling a public relations war that questions the legitimacy of our work and our motives. This is unacceptable, and we will not go back. While we have seen the best of physicians in 2020, we were reminded again of the power of the AMA and of the entire Federation community working on our behalf and being our voice when it mattered most. Our AMA created tools and resources, all grounded in credible science and evidence, to help us respond to this historic crisis. We pushed the administration to accelerate production for testing and PPE. Our AMA helped establish a financial lifeline for struggling physician practices, securing tens of billions of dollars in financial support, grants, and interest-free loans to infuse practices with much-needed capital to survive this pandemic. Our AMA was a leading national voice in support of science, evidence, and data as the surest path through this pandemic, launching a major health campaign to encourage everyone everywhere to mask up. All of us should be proud of how the AMA has stood up for physicians this year. As with every hero's story, we must learn from the trying times we've experienced. We must grow and move forward because that is what a hero is asked to do. That's what physicians are expected to do. That is what we expect of ourselves. All of us are eager to see an end to this pandemic, and with encouraging new reports of vaccines in the late trial stages, there is tremendous excitement about what the new year will bring. but we are not there yet. All of us need to continue to do our parts. We need to constantly remind everyone to wear masks, wash hands, and physically distance. We need to remain steadfast and focused until the very end. We should not underestimate the fight in our opponent. Every time we feel like we have COVID-19 on the ropes, here and abroad, we see it roaring back. We have to remain strong and follow where the science leads us. The next few months will be buzzing with anticipation about the post-COVID world that will emerge. Regardless of when that day arrives and when normalcy returns, whatever that will look like, our AMA will play a critical role in shaping the health system of the future. A system that ensures that everyone has access to the affordable and meaningful coverage they need. A system that relies on science, evidence, and data to guide our approach to public health and prevention. A system free of the historic barriers to care and ensures that all patients stand on equal footing. A system that supports and integrates a revitalized public health infrastructure. A system that protects the patient-physician relationship from outside influence at all costs. And a system that prioritizes physician health and wellness and eases administrative burdens that take us away from what we do best, caring for our patients. Despite the challenges of this past year, and they have been extraordinary, I continue to believe in the power of organized medicine to fix the persistent problems in our health system. I believe in science and evidence to light our way, and I believe in the strength and resolve of physicians to take on any challenge and rise to any moment. The hero's journey is our journey, and we are exactly where we are meant to be. Thank you, and best wishes to all of you for a successful House of Delegates meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey, and we believe in you. You are our hero. We anticipate great things in the months ahead as you continue on your journey. The chair now recognizes Dr. James Madara, the Executive Vice President of our American Medical Association.
Mr. Speaker, members of the board, delegates, and colleagues, when we gathered in San Diego 1 year ago, in person and under very different circumstances, the debate focused on the alarming increase in vaping and e-cigarette use among teens, the proliferation of mobile health applications, some good, some otherwise, and the administration's concerning policies toward refugees and the treatment of immigrants along the southern border. None of us foresaw what the next 12 months would bring. The work of the AMA is long-term and policy-driven. Progress takes place each day, one foot in front of the other, in the halls of Congress, with state regulatory bodies, and through the courts. But on occasion, a crisis of scale, unanticipated, appears. A crisis that requires nimbleness and flexibility of response. A crisis like the pandemic of 2020. There are many lessons to be learned from this pandemic, some painful, some illuminating. For me, COVID-19 revealed that AMA's long-term strategic framework, our vision for healthcare, is on the right track. In fact, this framework powers our immense work to meet the challenge of this pandemic. So in a sense, the pandemic validates the direction of our work. Our three strategic arcs: first, removing obstacles that interfere with patient care; second, driving the future of medicine by reimagining medical education, including lifelong learning; and third, confronting chronic disease and other public health crises. This foundational work of the AMA was revealed to be as relevant and urgent for COVID as it was 1 year ago. Intersecting with these three arcs are three shared accelerators: advocacy, health equity, and innovation, which amplify and scale the work of each arc. COVID-19 exposed gaps, inefficiencies, and inequities within our health system, and it identified elements that our health system must better incorporate. Take telehealth, for example. Physicians are often early adopters of technology, whether it be robotic surgery, remote patient monitoring, or telehealth. The secret sauce for adoption by physicians is that the technology must work as intended, that it's efficient for physicians, that it's effective for patients, and that it protects or improves, rather than worsens, health equity. Prior to COVID-19, we witnessed a movement toward telehealth use. But the use of telehealth exploded in the early days of the pandemic. Almost overnight, many physicians reoriented large swaths of their practices toward telehealth. To navigate this new world, physicians turned to the AMA. At the federal level, AMA advocacy pushed to eliminate barriers to widespread adoption of telemedicine. Work that removed restrictive limits on where a patient could be located to receive telehealth services. With AMA's urging, CMS changed these and other restrictions, opening up the world of telemedicine to millions more patients. We are now urging to remove these restrictions permanently. The AMA also worked to ensure that physicians were compensated for remote care in order to recognize the demonstrated value of remote interactions. In April, the AMA launched an online telehealth implementation playbook. And we helped launch a pilot collaborative, the Telehealth Initiative, involving groups of physician practices. This is an effort to define best practices for telehealth, best practices that can then be scaled. More than 90% of physicians connected remotely with at least some patients in 2020. That's an inflection point that promises to shape delivery far into the future. We are also analyzing how practices can best incorporate two very different workflows. This to inform the hybrid practices of the future that will need to blend face-to-face with virtual visits. And we'll work to ensure that the challenges of efficacy, efficiency, and equity, along with privacy, are smoothly incorporated. As with all digital health, we must also make sure that every community and demographic benefits. Similarly, COVID-19 has magnified the importance of our work to prevent chronic disease, highlighting, for example, the need for better population blood pressure control in order to diminish vulnerability to stressors, such as COVID. We've seen over the last 9 months that factors that increase risk, hypertension is one example, have produced far more serious effects of COVID-19. Minoritized communities have suffered in far greater numbers than other communities, and that's another painful story of this pandemic. The reasons for this alarming imbalance are complex, but relate to and underscore the persistent inequities throughout both our health system and broader society. Inequities that place historically marginalized groups on unequal footing, severely limiting their ability to access the care they need. The work to address social determinants of health is foundational to the AMA's Center for Health Equity. Work of this center helped raise awareness of the devastating health effects of structural racism. Since the earliest days of this pandemic, our Center for Health Equity has called for comprehensive data collection by race and ethnicity to define the impact of COVID-19 on individual communities. Information necessary to construct countering actions to help practices address the risk of lack of blood pressure control, the AMA released a reference guide for physicians and care teams to train their patients for self-measured blood pressure. AMA's Integrated Health Model Initiative is simultaneously developing a digital tool to collect, analyze, and organize such self-measured pressures. We also team with the American Heart Association and Essence Magazine on a new national campaign to advocate for improved heart health for Black women and their families. We know from AMA's own collaborative research, recently published in JAMA, that hypertensive patients with health insurance have nearly twice the rate of blood pressure control as those without insurance. This undergirds and reaffirms our policies advancing coverage. That analysis also revealed that patients who have regular visits with their physicians are much more likely to have blood pressure controlled. Physician practices continue to be under severe economic pressure from this pandemic. AMA's own nationwide physician survey shows medical practices have experienced a crippling 32% drop in revenue thanks to COVID-19. AMA responded by helping secure more than $175 billion in financial support to help with these struggles. We also fast-tracked a series of new CPT codes and modifiers to assist public health understanding of the pandemic. And now we are working on codes for the emerging vaccines. And as part of our ever-growing COVID-19 Resource Center, we created tools and content, including support and guidance to help physicians combat enormous pandemic-related stress, the latest chapter in our years-long effort toward mitigation of physician burnout. COVID-19 has tested all of us, and the full measure of its impact on physicians, on healthcare, and on society won't be known for some time. But the urgency and the challenges of this pandemic tell us that AMA's strategy is exactly on the right path. It validates all that we are working to achieve, and it brings new meaning to our mission to promote the art and science of medicine and the betterment of public health. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madara. On behalf of our entire House of Delegates, please extend our deep appreciation to your entire team for the incredible work they have done this year. I will turn things over now to our Vice Speaker, Dr. Egbert.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Tonight, as we convene virtually, we are able to virtually connect with some of our friends and allies in the AMA Alliance, AMPAC, and in the AMA Foundation. First, I would like to introduce Sue Ann Greco, President of the AMA Alliance. Mrs. Greco has been active in the healthcare field for decades. After earning her degree in nursing, she worked as an instructor of nursing and as a legal nurse consultant. For the past 9 years, Mrs. Greco has been working alongside her husband, Dr. Thomas Greco, as his practice manager, implementing their electronic medical record system and meeting governmental compliance measures. Together, they have also raised 4 daughters. Mrs. Greco, and I see you have brought some friends. Please proceed.
Greetings to the AMA House of Delegates from the AMA Alliance Board of Directors. Like the AMA, the Alliance has had to find a new way of connecting with our physician family members this year. We continue our mission to build healthier communities by connecting physician families and collaborating to educate and advocate. We've been connecting members all year by planning informative, topic-driven Zoom calls addressing both the needs of our county and state affiliate leaders and our individual members. Monthly all-member Zoom call topics this year have included the importance of immunizations, thriving at home with children during COVID, vaping and nicotine addiction in adolescents, and diversity, equity, and inclusion in healthcare. Our state and county leader call topics have included small projects your Alliance can do now, searching and applying for grants, how to plan a virtual state or regional meeting, and how to use social media to engage and develop membership. In addition, our Legislative Advocacy Committee has hosted 2 informative calls with guests from the AMA advocacy team, keeping us informed of AMA's legislative priorities. The Alliance continues to support some of the same public health priorities that the AMA does, including decreasing infant mortality, mental health awareness, the importance of immunizations, the dangers of adolescent vaping, and opioid misuse awareness. Most importantly, the AMA Alliance has committed itself to supporting AMA's Mask Up program through our social media outlets. We thank the AMA for your support of our organization. In the meantime, we promise to mask up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Greco and Alliance board members. We will certainly mask up with you. And now, a presentation from our PAC. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Lyle Thorstensen, the chair of the AMPAC board. Dr. Thorstensen is a delegate from, and you please will have to excuse my Yankee accent, Nacogdoches, Texas. Nope, he says it much better than I do. Dr. Thorstensen, your remarks, please.
Hello, I am Lyle Thorstensen, AMPAC board chair from Nacogdoches, Texas. What a year we've had. After living through many months of the new normal, the world still feels upside down. As AMPAC board chair, my gratitude goes out to so many of you who continue to give to our cause despite what we know are extremely difficult times. I'd like to personally thank the House of Delegates who gave to AMPAC in 2020 and to encourage those who have not to join us now. I especially want to thank those at the Capitol Club levels for your unwavering dedication. Join us online at www.ampaconline.org or call us through the text 202-831-8785, texting the word AMPAC. Despite conditions, AMPAC and the AMA's advocacy team continued the nonstop hard work they do every election cycle and rose to the challenge of help us elect medicine-friendly candidates to office. AMA policy requires a medicine-friendly Congress. Your AMPAC support can make that happen. We need you. Election results will follow at our ampaconline.org website. But before closing, I'd like to announce the winner of the AMPAC's Great Broadway Sweepstakes Getaway. The trip includes a stay at the historic New York Plaza Hotel and tickets to the musical sensation Hamilton. The sweepstakes was planned before COVID, and AMPAC staff will work now with the winner to schedule it at an appropriate time. I'm delighted to announce the winner is Dr. Gregory Galena of Maywood, New Jersey. Congratulations, Dr. Galena, and thank you for your longtime gold AMPAC support. Finally, while COVID has hampered fundraising, political giving will not end. As we continue moving out of this recovery phase, we will need the support of our members like you as we look toward the next big election. Until then, thank you from the AMPAC board.
Thank you, Dr. Thorstensen. I encourage all those who are able, please contribute. We would love to achieve 100% AMPAC membership in the House. Next, we have a presentation from our AMA Foundation. The foundation is currently led by President Dr. Jacqueline Bello, who is also a longstanding member of this House.
The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has changed our lives, including our ability to come together in San Diego. But what hasn't changed is the AMA Foundation's commitment to improving our nation's health. Since 1950, we have provided more than $120 million in scholarships and grant funding, all made possible by so many of you. The support from members of the AMA's House of Delegates is central to our storied history. Many delegates had their first introduction to the AMA as an award recipient of the foundation.
I won an award and I came to the meeting expecting to collect my award and go home. And I was inspired and surprised even by the peers around me. I was surrounded by a group of like-minded people who wanted to make the world a better place.
This past year, our foundation awarded nearly $1 million to support medical education and leadership and free health clinics.
Thank you so much for your generous support. It all is making a huge impact and making a difference in the lives of patients.
How did this $1 million improve our nation's health? Through our 11 physician-led clinics, nearly 22,000 individuals from our most vulnerable patient populations were screened and educated in prevention and/or management of type 2 diabetes and hypertension. These clinic programs include lifestyle coaching classes, community gardening, healthy cooking classes, and fitness classes in as many as 7 different languages. We're also a co-sponsor with the AMA on the Release the Pressure campaign, a collaboration with Essence Magazine, which is empowering Black women to develop a wellness plan to improve heart health and be part of a national movement for healthy blood pressure, the leading risk factor for heart attack and stroke.
The AMA Foundation supports the idea of health equity and doesn't just use it as a term to be thrown around, and it's something that they live and breathe.
We've continued our long-standing tradition of supporting physicians of tomorrow, awarding 28 medical scholarships, bringing our lifetime investment in future physicians to nearly $70 million. Our Leadership Development Institute provides a full year of training and professional development, which includes formal mentorships. Last year, when the Hahnemann University Hospital closed, the foundation donated $20,000 to their Displaced Resident Fund. Moving forward, in partnership with the AMA's Center for Health Equity and Improving Health Outcomes, the foundation granted $100,000 to support the expansion of Target BP on the west side of Chicago, which experiences a life expectancy gap of up to 16 years compared to Chicago's downtown neighborhoods. The foundation is launching an innovative LGBTQ fellowship program, led by C-SPAN co-founder and philanthropist John D. Evans. Last month, the foundation funded a pilot fellowship with the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai that will help to propel this transformative national initiative next year.
I think the AMA Foundation is really coupling to the issues that are facing physicians. We're investing in taking care of some of the most vulnerable patient populations, and just seeing that is very inspiring.
All of this is made possible through the generous support from so many of you. While we may not be together physically this year, there are many ways to get involved and give back as a community. Visit the Foundation's online meeting hub at www.amafoundation.org/special meeting and make your tax-deductible gift online. Or, if you prefer, you can take advantage of the virtual booth and make a donation with a foundation staff member. No matter how you choose to donate, you will receive a commemorative special meeting pin in recognition of your support. Thank you. We can't wait until we can all be safely together again soon.
As you can see, our foundation has continued and expanded upon their AMA amazing charitable work during this pandemic. For those of you who have not yet contributed, I urge you to do so. And for those of you who have, please display your Zoom background like you see behind us. Let's continue to help the foundation raise at least $50,000 during this special meeting. They're almost halfway there already. And don't forget that we will mail you this special pin when you donate. Back to you, Dr. Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Egbert. This may be our second virtual meeting, but it is the first time that we will attempt to conduct live reference committee hearings and full debate in the House. I think we all know that our House of Delegates meetings are not your typical meeting, and let me say for sure that this special meeting is not your typical Zoom meeting. Working with our consultants, we have tried to make sure that things like our secure voting will be there. Well, that's not that uncommon, but for us, we have to be able to have our alternate delegates who are seated for the delegates to be able to vote. But then only one of the votes can count, and this switches back and forth several times through a meeting. Holding a Zoom webinar with thousands of observers just like right now. There are over 1,200 of you online with us observing. But the challenge is, the hallmark of our House of Delegates is that for our other meetings, any member in the reference committee and over 1,200 delegates and alternate delegates have the right to speak during the House of Delegates deliberations. Plus, Dr. Egbert and I decided that we wanted to be able to see your all's faces, and we wanted you all to be able to see each other's faces. Even the most experienced consultants were baffled by all of this. Believe me, we brainstormed, planned, observed other meetings, replaced our previous plans, tested, and then replaced our plans and planned again. We know this is complex. Please be patient with us and with your fellow members of the House of Delegates as we proceed. Let me review a few things that might help. The first thing I would say is to make sure you have available and that you review your instructions for participation sheet. This was emailed to all of you on November 9th and is posted on the AMA website. It provides detailed instructions on how to participate fully in the meeting. So that everyone has this important information, let me take a few moments to go through it with you now, step by step. First, the AMA website. This should look very familiar to all of you. I'm sure you all visit it regularly. Then on the top right side, as indicated by the arrow, click on the House of Delegates page. This will take you to this next page. Here you will see the November 2020 special meeting as an option on the right side. Click on that where you see the red arrow. This will take you to the special meeting page of our House of Delegates. You will have to scroll down a bit, and when you do, you will see these options at the bottom. Click on the link on the bottom left, as indicated here. That then takes you to the business of the November 2020 special meeting page. Here, you will find an information sheet and other important documents such as the final report of the resolution committee, the Saturday tote, even though it was delivered on Friday, can all be found here. This is what you should see once you click on the instruction sheet. Hopefully it looks very familiar to all of you because it has already been emailed to each of you and it was emailed again today. This information sheet includes a link for every session of this meeting. Now, some of you don't want to follow that path, so you can go directly to the information sheet by simply following this link. You can see you would go to the AMA website, House of Delegates, /special meeting, /business November 2020 special meeting, AMA House of Delegates. That's how you get there. Now, we held practice sessions over the last 2 nights. Thank you to the over 400 who attended one or in some cases both of those sessions. Our goal was to reduce as much as possible the technology challenges of an actual meeting itself. If you were unable to attend, I strongly urge you to watch the video from last night's session before tomorrow morning. It can be found here at this URL link. And if you're having trouble copying it down, this link was emailed to every member of the House of Delegates earlier today. We simply do not have time for everyone to work through their personal technology challenges during the meeting. Please take advantage of the resources that have been provided to you. I want to remind delegates that you have been sent a code. You should use this code to log in to the Lumi system and for all sessions other than this opening session, where Lumi is not necessary and most all of the devices within Zoom have been shut down. The code was sent to you by U.S. Mail. It came in a yellow cover like this on top of the speaker's letter, which I know you all eagerly anticipate receiving each year before the meetings. It has also been emailed to you twice in the past and again this morning. Delegates may share their code with their alternate delegates, but only one of you may be logged into Lumi system at a given time. Just like in the House of Delegates, when you hand off your salmon badge, only one of you can be participating as a seated delegate at any given time. Now, if you don't use that code, you will not be able to vote. So before anyone interrupts and asks, alternate delegates and even guests, as long as you are AMA members, will be able to enter and speak on the speaking queue and testify within the reference committees. For our business session starting tomorrow morning, which starts at 10 a.m. Central Time, delegates should log in to both the Lumi site and the Zoom site. The Zoom address is the same as you're using this evening, and here will be projected the Lumi address. This is the Lumi address for all business sessions of the House, which will occur tomorrow, Saturday morning, and again Monday afternoon and Tuesday morning. The Zoom address is also the same for all of these business sessions of the House. That said, the addresses for the Zoom and Lumi meetings for the reference committees are all unique, just like they're held in different rooms within the hotel before we all come back together within the grand ballroom. I refer you again to that essential instruction page, which has the links listed to it for every session. Tomorrow morning, we will, as usual, have some clicker questions for you. We knew you would miss them terribly if we didn't include some, so we'll have those available to allow you to test the system. There will be a number of items which will require a vote during Saturday morning session, so make sure you have signed in and you're ready to go by 10 in the morning. And if you're not going to sign in, make sure that your alternate is signed in using your shared credentialed code. One more time, please review the instruction sheet, and anyone who needs technical assistance can contact us via email. Let's project that email address one more time. HOD meeting support at ama-assn.org. Or you can reach us if it's an urgent issue at 800-337-1599. As I said earlier, please be patient. We have a limited number of phone lines and AMA staff standing by to hopefully help you with your individual issues. Now, one final reminder before the awards portion of our opening session of the HOD. Once again, the deadline to submit extractions for the Resolution Committee's final report, along with your statement of up to 150 words, is 9 o'clock Central Time tonight. Similarly, the extractions of any information reports to be considered at a reference committee is also 9 o'clock tonight. Those should be submitted to hod@ama-assn.org. Please put the word extraction in the subject line so we can find it among the slew of emails that we're receiving. To repeat one more time, there will be no opportunity for extractions of items from the Resolution Committee final report or the information reports during our meeting tomorrow morning. The deadline is 9 o'clock tonight. We will now turn things over to our awards portion of the program. Each year, our AMA recognizes a handful of physicians for their outstanding efforts on behalf of our profession and our patient. Likewise, we applaud the work of a few medical society executives, without whose support much of our work would be for naught. I now recognize the AMA President, Dr. Sue Rudd-Bailey, and the Chair of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Russ Kreidel, for the presentation of awards.
The Distinguished Service Award is presented to a member of the Association for Meritorious Service in the Science and Art of Medicine. It is one of the AMA's highest honors. This year, your Board of Trustees has selected two winners, Dr. Vivian Penn of Washington, D.C., and Dr. Cameron Najat of Palo Alto, California. First, we recognize Dr. Vivian Penn, a trailblazer for African Americans and women throughout her career. Dr. Penn was the only African American and the only woman in her graduating class at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. Later, she became the first African American and third woman in the United States ever to chair an academic pathology department at Howard University. And in 1991, she became the first full-time director of the Office of Research on Women's Health at the National Institutes of Health, holding the position until her retirement in 2011. It may be incomprehensible now, but 30 years ago, women were not routinely included in scientific studies of treatment for various diseases and for prescription medications. Under Dr. Penn's leadership, the Office of Research on Women's Health implemented a systemic effort to ensure that women were included in NIH clinical trials and to improve the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of illnesses in women. Dr. Penn helped raise awareness of women's health issues, as well as our underrepresentation in science and medicine worldwide. Since retiring, Dr. Penn has remained active in academics and in organized medicine at both the National Medical Association and the American Medical Association. She also serves as a senior scientist emerita at the NIH Fogarty International Center. Dr. Penn, with grit and intelligence, you have carved out a career as a physician, academic leader, public health official, and mentor. We all stand on your shoulders. I am pleased to present you with the AMA's Distinguished Service Award.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, esteemed members of the Board of Trustees, officers, and other officials of the American Medical Association, and to the membership of AMA, I offer my sincere and humble appreciation for your having bestowed upon me the AMA's 2020 Distinguished Service Award. Knowing of the prestigious physicians who have previously been selected by you for this honor, I accept it with the knowledge that it serves as a challenge to me, that I must continue to contribute whatever I'm able and facilitate others to pursue science-based medical care and information, investing our experiences in all the ways that can provide inspiration or assistance for the aspirations of new physicians, and not just advocate for, but to be ever active in promoting and achieving health equity with empathy, justice, and excellence for the good of our peoples and our profession. It is especially heartwarming to me to be recognized in my senior years and to know that what I have attempted to accomplish has been considered of some import to others in our profession. But I say this with gratitude for the many both world-recognized educators, physicians, and friends, as well as some whose names may not have meaning for you, but who were so contributory to my professional life. For they're giving me the courage to follow in the uncharted pathways they blaze for all of us, and especially for women and people of color, to have the opportunities that I have had for superb medical education and career opportunities. I have enjoyed roles throughout my double career, both as a pathologist as well as a policymaker in government, that I would never have dreamed would have been possible for me. But I consider my most worthy achievements not those of my own, but the legacy I find in those of my former students and mentees, how they have excelled in their many diverse roles and continue to reach back to those that follow them as mentors and role models as they rise to positions of leadership in so many arenas. I'm so proud of them. And just knowing that I might have had a small role in encouraging them or setting an example of how the pursuit of opportunities in medicine can and will open many doors is my major gratification for what my careers have afforded me. And I hope that same legacy will be continued for each of you and for all of us. You, members and officers of the AMA, you've made me very proud today. And while I'm also dutifully humbled that you have deemed me worthy of this distinguished honor, and I accept it along with the challenges it represents, with my deep gratitude and my very sincere appreciation. Thank you.
Our next winner is aptly named the father of modern operative laparoscopy. Dr. Cameron Najat is an internationally renowned surgeon and naturalized American citizen. After graduating from Tehran University School of Medicine, he completed his residency training in obstetrics and gynecology at the State University of New York at Buffalo, and later settled in Palo Alto, California, where he owns and operates a surgical institute. Believing since early in his practice that minimally invasive surgery is preferable to traditional open techniques, Dr. Najat introduced numerous methods and techniques in video-assisted and robotic surgery. His pioneering work has fundamentally changed contemporary surgery and opened a path for surgeons around the world to help their patients. His impact on gynecology and reproductive medicine has been profound, as he has transformed treatment for conditions such as endometriosis, uterine fibroids, and infertility. He's also influenced advances in urology as well as colorectal, vascular, and thoracic surgery. For his patients, his techniques have meant less pain, fewer complications, and shorter recovery time. His patients uniformly credit him for his expert skill, compassionate bedside manner, and for restoring hope in their ability to recover from serious conditions. His care for patients extends beyond the exam room and operating theater to the public arena. Along with his brothers, both renowned reproductive surgeons in their own right, Dr. Najat founded the EndoMarch Global Movement to address the urgent needs of those suffering with endometriosis throughout the world. Dr. Najat is also described as a first-rate educator and mentor, willing to teach his techniques so that young physicians can become better surgeons. Dr. Najat, for your tremendous contributions in the field of minimally invasive surgery, and for your service to your patients, colleagues, and the worldwide community, the AMA is pleased to present you with the Distinguished Service Award.
Thank you, Madam President, for your kind introduction, and congratulations for your many contributions to the AMA. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, and respected House of Delegates, being recognized by the AMA's highest award, the Distinguished Service Award, is a true honor. I'm humble. I'm grateful to the Board of Trustees for selecting me and to the House of Delegates for their endorsement. My heartfelt gratitude and thanks for the never-ending support of Dr. Robert Waugh, past President of AMA, Dr. Ricardo Aziz, CEO, and Mr. Sean Tipton, Chief Advocacy, Policy, and Development Officer at the ASRM. My focus in medicine has always been infertility and endometriosis. It was then that I realized endometriosis is an enigmatic condition, underdiagnosed, misunderstood, which was mainly managed at the time by laparotomy. So I invented and pioneered video-assisted endoscopy, the foundation of modern-day surgery. Then I realized the lack of awareness about endometriosis. Thus, we founded the Worldwide Endometriosis March, or EndoMarch, to raise awareness about endometriosis. We are thankful to the AMA's leadership and Dr. Robert Waugh for supporting our mission by endorsing Endometriosis March from its inception. I dedicate this award to my patients from around the world who have given me the privilege to participate in their care, my mentors, supporters, friends, and pioneering scientists and physicians around the globe who have a dream to help their patients. I have been blessed in life with a wonderful family. I would like to share this award with them and the souls of my beloved parents and my dear brother Rustin, who are watching, smiling, and celebrating with us. Last but not least, I share this high honor and joyous occasion with my dear brothers Sina, Far, and Ali, who have been with me every step of this long, adventurous, rewarding, and exhilarating road. Thank you again for this immense honor.
I now have the honor of presenting the Benjamin Rush Award for Citizenship and Community Service. One of the AMA's highest honors, this award commemorates the memory of Benjamin Rush, a physician, teacher, delegate to the Continental Congress, and signer of the Declaration of Independence. It's given to a person who has made an outstanding contribution to the community for citizenship and public service, above and beyond the call of duty as a practicing physician. This year's winner is Dr. Charles E. Moore of Mableton, an Atlanta-based ear, nose, and throat specialist. Dr. Moore is a professor at Emory University and chief of service in the Department of Otolaryngology at Grady Health System in Atlanta. He's devoted his career to providing health care to those in need. Dr. Moore says of his experience as a physician, "I saw numerous patients that would seek medical help after their disease process had progressed to a point where they had limited treatment options. Patients with cancers that could have been treated easily if the cancer had been identified early. And each time I would say to myself that someone should do something about this travesty." Dr. Moore was that someone. In 2004, he founded the Health Education Assessment and Leadership, or HEAL Coalition, to provide health education and medical services to persons living in Atlanta's poorest zip codes. This grew into the Healing Community Center, which is now a federally qualified health center serving patients in 4 locations. Healing Community Center serves individuals and families who may have had limited access to health care in the past, with an emphasis on preventive health, nutrition, and wellness. Dr. Moore even leads a weekly walking program for patients and community members. Dr. Moore is an inspiration to all physicians, and his commitment to the betterment of public health sets a high bar we should all strive to reach. Dr. Moore, for your dedication to helping those in greatest need of care and confronting the underlying reasons that create health disparities, the AMA is pleased to present you with the Benjamin Rush Award.
Mr. Speaker, Madam President, members of the House, thank you for this very prestigious award. It is truly an honor that I deeply appreciate. I would also like to thank my parents, family, and friends for their unconditional love and support. Additionally, I would like to thank my colleagues in academia and the communities that I have worked in for their tireless efforts and inspiration. I am truly humbled by this award. In almost every opportunity, there's a challenge, and in accepting that challenge, you are presented with the prospect of creating something great, as well as learning more about yourself and others in the process. HEAL, which is an acronym for Health Education Assessment and Leadership, came into being as a result of my seeing patients that would come for treatment only after their disease process had progressed to such an extent that there were few to no treatment options. Seeing this day after day and month after month, and each time saying to myself, someone should do something about this, until one day I realized that maybe that person was supposed to be me. Such despair touches something in all of us. HEAL provides integrated, comprehensive healthcare in marginalized communities. One of the most important things that we provide is hope. Hope in the midst of despair. Knowledge creates hope. It seems that a large part of the populace does not care about a segment of people. That is a failure of education. This current turbulent time that we live in, when so many people are threatened with food insecurity, economic strife, housing crises, and a lack of timely access to medical care, makes us all realize how close we all may be to needing help when none may be available. My experiences demonstrate that as a medical volunteer, you can be a part of the solution. No action is too small. Whether your focus is at the local, national, or international level, you can make a tangible difference. In the process, you will also introduce hope and possibilities to those who are too often underserved. I would once again like to thank the AMA for this honor, and I would also like to encourage everyone listening to take the challenge. Proactively work to create hope by using your own particular skills and gifts. Thank you.
Next, we present the AMA Foundation Award for Health Education, which was established to recognize the professional and public health education accomplishments of practicing physicians. This year's winner is Dr. Alona Balasunova of Omaha, Nebraska. Dr. Balasunova's difficult experiences as an Armenian childhood refugee motivated her to become an addiction psychiatrist and to care for patients in a compassionate way. After medical school at Harvard and a psychiatry residency at Boston University Medical Center, she returned to Nebraska, the state that welcomed her family years ago. Since her return, she is credited with developing and implementing a continuum of addiction psychiatry clinical services from the ground up. At the University of Nebraska Medical Center, she developed an outpatient addiction psychiatric clinic, an inpatient addiction psychiatric program, and a new rotation focused on equipping residents to treat patients with substance use disorders. Dr. Balasunova has also advanced the education and training of other clinicians by developing a virtual training office of addiction psychiatry materials for residency programs, and through her role as senior trainer for the state of Nebraska in the Opioid Response Network. Last year, Dr. Balasunova wrote and presented a resolution calling for destigmatizing the language of addiction, which was supported by the U.S. Surgeon General and adopted by both the Nebraska Medical Association and our AMA House of Delegates. Dr. Balasunova, for your leadership in addiction medicine and for your commitment to educating your fellow physicians in compassionate evidence-based care, we are pleased to present you with the AMA Foundation's Health Education Award.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I would like to thank the Board of Trustees and the AMA Foundation for this tremendous honor, and to express my gratitude to my specialty society, the American Academy of Addiction Psychiatry, and my state Nebraska Medical Association for endorsing me for this award. In particular, I want to recognize Dr. Linda Ford for her incredible mentorship and for believing in me since day one. I'd like to also thank my husband, Jason, for supporting me and my academic dreams starting back in medical school, and for helping me juggle work-life balance with our twin toddlers. You know, never did I imagine in my wildest dreams being recognized for doing something that I love, for educating students, trainees, colleagues, patients, and the public on viewing substance use disorders as the medical conditions that they are, and for destigmatizing the language of addiction, something I passionately believe each and every one of us has the power to do. To end, I'd like to thank my parents, who sacrificed everything to bring their 7-year-old daughter to the United States for political asylum, where she could have the freedoms they never had, where she could be free to pursue and achieve the American dream. I am privileged to be that girl and to pay it forward to the next generation. Thank you all so much.
It is my pleasure today to recognize medical executives who've rendered outstanding service to the profession, working to address the needs of physicians and promote good care for our patients. First, we present the Medical Executive Meritorious Achievement Award. That award goes to Ms. Susan D'Antoni. Ms. D'Antoni began her career as a medical society executive in Louisiana, where she served as executive director of the Orleans Parish Medical Society for 17 years. In 2006, she moved to Maryland, where she was hired by the Montgomery County Medical Society, later rising to CEO. Ms. D'Antoni is highly respected as a leader in the field of medical association management, skilled in advocacy, community relations, recruitment, and retention. She cares deeply about people. After initiating a survey that showed an increase in physician burnout rates in Montgomery County, she developed an early intervention counseling program that has assisted dozens of physicians to date. Ms. D'Antoni has demonstrated exceptional crisis management through 2 disasters as well: Hurricane Katrina in Louisiana, and later a fire that destroyed the Montgomery County Medical Society's headquarters. After Hurricane Katrina, she assisted physicians in returning to New Orleans and rebuilding their homes and offices so they could resume medical services. And after the fire, she was responsible for recovery, restoration, and rebuilding the MCMS headquarters in just 1 year. Please join me in congratulating Susan D'Antoni for her selection by the AMA for this year's Medical Executive Meritorious Achievement Award.
Thank you, Dr. Crydell. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, members of this House, I thank the American Medical Association for this meaningful recognition. It has been my privilege and pleasure for the last 31 years to represent, serve, and advocate for you and your patients. It is truly gratifying to work at a grassroots level as I witness your passion for medicine, address your practice challenges, and celebrate the rewards which come from caring for patients each and every day. It's also exciting to work with physician leaders to bring an individual physician's idea or concern to the state level and then to this House, which results in enhanced healthcare delivery and access and/or improved fiscal policy. Organized medicine is truly at its best when physicians and medical association staff at the local, state, and national levels work together to improve the environment in which you practice. I thank MedChi, the Maryland State Medical Society, for nominating me and the physician leaders who wrote letters of support in both Maryland and Louisiana. As a past president of the American Association of Medical Society Executives, I am grateful for the collaboration of my own staff and from my colleagues across the country. I thank my husband, children, and entire family for understanding and encouraging my passion for my career in organized medicine. And I dedicate this award to my mom, who is now in hospice care. She's always been my greatest cheerleader. Thank you again for this award and for recognizing my passion, dedication, and commitment to your profession, to you, and to your patients. We make an incredible team.
Colleagues, next we will present the AMA's Medical Executive Lifetime Achievement Award. This award is made to medical executives of a county, state, or specialty society who have contributed substantially to the goals and ideals of the medical profession over a significant period of service. This year, the AMA recognizes 7 leaders who have earned this honor. First, Mark Andrzejewski, former Executive Vice President of the American College of Rheumatology. Penny S. Mills, former Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Society of Addiction Medicine. Catherine M. Rydell, CEO Emeritus of the American Academy of Neurology. Philip A. Hsu, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of the Medical Society of the State of New York. Robert Bob W. Seligson, Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer of the North Carolina Medical Society. Tenna Wiles, Chief Executive Officer of the Palm Beach County Medical Society. And Dr. Douglas E. Henley, former Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer of the American Academy of Family Physicians, who has also served as a member of this House of Delegates. Please join me in congratulating all the winners of the Medical Executive Lifetime Achievement Award.
Dr. Kreidel, Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice Speaker, I want to thank you for this award. This is as close as I will get to ever getting an Academy Award. So in typical Academy Award style, I have lots of people that I need to thank for this award. First of all, I'd like to thank Doctors John Goldman, Joe Bailey, Richard Tompkins, Audrey Nelson from the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Christopher Alexander, and most of all, Dr. Ray Skeletar for helping us secure this seat. Moving on, I'd like to thank Dr. Roy Altman, recognize Dr. Altman, who was our first delegate, Dr. Melvin Britton, who was our alternate delegate for over 20 years. He served on the SSS and also the RUC. On a personal note, I'd like to thank William Nelligan, past president of the American College of Cardiology, and Dr. Colin Rory, past exec at the American College of Emergency Physicians, for being mentors and friends. Moving to the present, Dr. Gary Bryant and Dr. Eileen Moynihan, who are delegate and alternate delegate at this point. And last but not least, most important, my wife Joanne, who, while I was gone all those days, weeks, and months, kept the fort down here at home, and without her, for sure, I never would have received this award. So thank you again, and I will cherish this always.
Thank you, Dr. Kreidel. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, members of the House, thank you for this great honor. I have spent most of my 40-plus year career in healthcare working for two outstanding medical societies, the American College of Cardiology, or ACC, then as CEO of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, fondly known as ASAM. I'm so proud that ASAM is represented today on the AMA Board of Trustees by Dr. Levin. I have so many people to thank for their mentorship, support, and friendship. I'm grateful to Marie Michnick, who first hired me at ACC. Later, I was fortunate to work with Christine McEntee, ACC CEO, who taught me about medical society leadership and remains a dear friend. In fact, I have a close network of friends which grew from working with medical societies. The inspiration from the physician leadership and advocating for patients are what have made medical society management such a satisfying career for me. I want to personally thank the ASAM leadership, including Dr. Early, ASAM's current president, Dr. Clark, immediate past president, Dr. Baxter, who was president when I started, and Drs. Gitlow and Miller, who also serve in the House of Delegates. Since retiring last June, I'm an executive in residence for the MHA program at Cornell University. I hope to steer one or two students into medical society management careers where they too will find the deep personal and professional satisfaction I have found. Thank you again for this honor.
Thank you, Dr. Kreidel. Mr. Speaker, Madam President, and members of the House of Delegates, thank you so much for this wonderful award. In my 26 years of attending the House of Delegates, I've watched many of my friends and mentors receive this award. I truly am humbled to join them. In 1994, when I joined the North Dakota Medical Association, I learned firsthand what small but mighty meant. I also learned from the NDMA and the AMA the power of speaking with one voice. I sincerely thank both organizations for giving me a life-changing opportunity by introducing me to the House of Medicine. When they did, I was hooked. In my 21 years at the American Academy of Neurology, I've watched thousands of volunteers unselfishly give of their time and talent for the good of the whole. I've seen leaders and volunteers passionately advocate for their profession and their patients. I will forever be grateful to the Academy for the opportunity to work with and learn from extraordinary physician leaders. The added bonus, many have become my lifelong friends. In closing, I'd like to thank the execs in the audience. Having been both a state CEO and a national CEO, I've experienced the power of working and learning together. Much of my success is because of my interaction with these groups of dynamic executives. They are talented, committed, and a heck of a lot of fun to be around. In the future, when they receive this award, I will enthusiastically join in celebrating each of them. In closing, I do have one piece of advice for the newer execs. Your number one responsibility is to grow the next ship of leaders for your organization. Their success is your success. Always remember that no one rises to low expectations. So inspire and challenge your team, and then sit back and watch them soar. Thank you so much.
Dr. Kreidel, Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice Speaker, Madam President, board members, officers, delegates, and guests. I am extremely honored to have been selected by the American Medical Association to be the recipient of the Medical Executive Lifetime Achievement Award. Indeed, it has been a lifetime. I've spent a major part of my working career with the Medical Society of the State of New York, working there for more than 30 years, the last 10 of which have been as the Executive Vice President. Receiving this reward actually coincides nicely with the fact that I am retiring at the end of this year. My job has provided me with the opportunity to work closely with many of you. I am always amazed at the intensity and focus that you bring to every discussion. I want to take this opportunity to thank the New York delegation, the MSSNY leadership and staff, and the boards of the Physician Foundation for Excellence and the Physician Advocacy Institute for allowing me to have been part of their lives over these many years. Lastly, I'd like to thank my lovely wife, Barbara, for sharing this journey with me. We have just celebrated our 47th anniversary, and I look forward to celebrating many more with her, with my children, and with my 14 grandchildren. So thank you very much. Have a good meeting, and please stay safe.
I would like to thank the American Medical Association for this prestigious honor, as well as the Florida Medical Association and Don Jones, who 38 years ago gave me my first opportunity to work in organized medicine. A special thanks to the Texas Medical Association for their longstanding support of the North Carolina Medical Society, and for the Connecticut State Medical Society and Timmy Norbeck for leading the charge with a group of 22 medical societies that took on the managed care titans in a class action lawsuit over unfair business practices and won. As a result, the Physicians Foundation was created. Over the last 17 years, the foundation has distributed more than $50 million in support of research, advocacy, physician leadership, and physician well-being. I really look forward to continuing to advocate for the greatest profession on this earth as the foundation's CEO, a new role I began this summer. Finally, a huge thank you to my beloved North Carolina Medical Society for nominating me for this award. My 26 years at the North Carolina Medical Society offered me endless opportunities and experiences. I will never be able to adequately thank the leaders, the members, and the greatest staff in the country for your incredible support over the years. Thank you again for this prestigious honor.
Thank you, Dr. Kreidel, Mr. Speaker, Madam President, and members of the House. I would like to thank the American Medical Association for this award, and a special thank you to the Florida Medical Association delegation and my home Palm Beach County Medical Society. A special thank you to Dr. James Goldenberg for this nomination. And I would also like to recognize the outstanding AMA staff and fellow AMSI colleagues for their partnership all these years. This is an extremely special moment for me. To say that I am delighted and honored to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the AMA is an understatement. Serving as CEO of the Palm Beach County Medical Society and working with the AMA has been an incredible journey. Early on, I learned that organized medicine is a team sport played with rules. And I remember attending my first AMA meeting 22 years ago in San Diego. Walking into the meeting was impressive, but a bit overwhelming experience. A well-meaning AMA delegate, Dr. Dick Van Eldick from Palm Beach County, escorted me to sit with the Florida delegation. I quickly learned my first AMA lesson. when another delegate informed me that staff does not sit on the floor of the House and escorted me to the appropriate area for Federation staff. Lesson learned, rules matter. And forever after that, I have been learning from the AMA, which has been my source of guidance. The Palm Beach County Medical Society has initiated many programs inspired by the AMA, including the Physician Leadership Academy, Physician Wellness Program, Opioid Response Task Force, Care Coordination Training Initiative, Disaster Preparedness, Cultural Competency, and now the COVID-19 Response Task Force. Of great pride is the future of medicine. Inspired by a presentation by the Michigan Medical Association at the AMA Advocacy Conference. Now in our 13th year, the Palm Beach County Future of Medicine continues to bring together thought leaders to explore challenges, innovations, and strategies of how to improve quality of care. AMA past president, Dr. Cecil Wilson, was our champion and initiated a tradition for all AMA presidents to participate in the Future of Medicine Summit. This includes Dr. Bailey's recent virtual presentation. To me, this is the true value of the AMA, working together to fulfill the mission to promote the art and science of medicine and the betterment of public health. As medicine continues to face unprecedented challenges, I am reassured that the AMA will be leading the way, and I will be forever grateful for this honor. Thank you.
I would like to express my sincere thanks to my Academy delegation and the AMA Board of Trustees for this recognition. I am truly honored. And a special thanks also to my wife Mary for her love and support over 54 years, including my many decades of involvement in the Academy and organized medicine. In my remaining time, I want to speak directly to all of you as representatives of the House of Medicine. I have participated in this House since 1993, and over this time I have been pleased to see it evolve in two very important ways. First, to become more diverse in its composition, led, I might add, by the diversity of the AAFP delegation, and second, the gradual willingness of this body to seriously focus on improving our healthcare system. But on this second point, we still have important work to do, as exemplified by this one slide showing life expectancy in the United States compared to the rest of the developed world since the 1960s, a slide that frankly I find embarrassing. While there are likely many reasons our nation trails on this important measure of life expectancy, I will call your attention to three that I believe are the most obvious and critical to achieve a better healthcare system for the American people. First, following World War II, these nations, through varied pathways, sought to achieve affordable healthcare coverage for all. The U.S. did not. Second, these nations, except the United States, chose to fund social support services to a greater extent than funding for health care services. On average, they spend $2 on social support services for every dollar spent on health care. The U.S. spends only 49 cents. And third, these nations chose to financially support and organize their healthcare systems around foundational primary care. The U.S. did not, despite evidence demonstrating that increasing the number of primary care physicians has a 2.5 times greater impact on improving life expectancy when compared to a similar increase in subspecialty physicians. So the journey to a better healthcare system for the American people continues, but the pathway forward, I think, is clear. And I challenge this House to be bold to achieve affordable health care coverage for all, with a greater investment in both foundational primary care and social support services to achieve health equity. As Dr. King once said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. These are three things that truly matter. Let's not be silent anymore. Thank you again for this honor and this recognition.
Our congratulations and our profound appreciation to each of the awardees for their work. Before we recess for the evening, I have a few important announcements. By now, everyone should be familiar with our Code of Conduct as it relates to the House of Delegates meetings. To log into the Lumi platform tomorrow, you must agree to comply with the Code of Conduct. Violations of the Code of Conduct may be reported to Lauren Robinson, the AMA Assistant General Counsel at the telephone number or the email address as posted now. Alternatively, you may contact our third-party anonymous hotline at the phone number or the email address on the slide being posted now. Thank you for your attention to ensuring that this is a safe, welcoming, and professional meeting. On Tuesday, before we adjourn, we will show the announcements of members intending to seek election next June. If you have not already sent in your announcement, be sure to get it in with your information to Roger Brown by noon on Sunday. If you have already announced your plans, don't worry. You will be included in the presentation of all the candidate announcements on Tuesday. All candidates, please remember that our rules specify that you're not permitted to do active campaigning until after the April meeting of the Board of Trustees, when the nominees are announced for all council elections. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Dr. Egbert or myself, and we'll be happy to help. The House will now be in recess until tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Time, when we will reconvene for our second session to consider the Rules Report and the report from the Resolutions Committee. Thank you and good night.
Good night.